Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're going to be talking about my earnings and social media metrics report for the month of December, where we dive into all the platforms that I'm using to earn, some insights on them, as well as how I've progressed on these platforms to give you some insight and some idea of where you might want to spend some of your time, either as a content creator or as just a social media user if you want to potentially earn some crypto or use somewhere that is an alternative to what you might be using now to provide some safety and security against like censorship, being arbitrarily blocked and banned, all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, we'll dive into that after a quick word from my sponsor.
A big thank you and shout out to my sponsor Cake Wallet, which is an open source, non-custodial Bitcoin and Monero wallet that also has a built-in exchange. It's available on iOS and Android.
All right, thanks again to my sponsor. So jumping right in, things progress pretty well. Usual month for me in December. Nothing really to point out, just everything is progressing well. I'm getting closer and closer to the 1 million milestone for video views, which is fantastic. Everything's just, moving along as it generally has been. So nothing really to point out here, just solid progress. And thank you everyone for helping make this possible. In terms of individual platforms, though, there's a little bit more of some caveats here. YouTube continues to, just make it harder and harder for me to get views, and I'm losing subscribers and stuff. So I've put that back to a negative there. Mine's is still good, but I'm hesitant to be reporting on it as much because, there's just all the issues with withdrawing and all that kind of stuff, but still a great place to use as a social media platform to have as a backup to just get the word out for even other social media platforms that you might be using. PublishOX is still fantastic. But the fact that all the coins they give it are ERC20, it's kind of not the most ideal. Hopefully very soon we'll have ETH 2.0, which will solve a lot of these problems, as well as some of the platforms that I've previously criticized, like Den.social, because, it's way too expensive to get anything out or in, and it's just not really viable. Same with like Yup. I think a lot of these things will be solved with ETH 2.0. So while I'm not really focused on using Den.social right now, I'll definitely be jumping back into everything that was restricted by gas fees once that is solved. For Hive continues to be the best platform in terms of monetization, decentralization, censorship resistance, all that kind of stuff. Hive is 100% the best platform currently. Crypto Twitter is fine. I haven't really been gaining followers, probably just because I do all of my Twitter promotions on Twitter. So it's less ideal, but realistically, you can follow me anywhere else on any of these other platforms. And I don't do any of that promotion as a way to incentivize you to follow me on decentralized platforms, or at least alternatives to legacy platforms. Read.Cash continues to be the best platform for blogging, I would say, as like a just blogging focus, because if I had to compare Read.Cash or Hive is obviously better, but as just blogging, I would say Read.Cash is like right up there. And the only real caveat with Read.Cash is that it's funded by one person, it's run anonymously, it's great, it's unrestricted, there's no KYC, it's great for what it is, but realistically it could shut down at any moment with no recourse, and we would have no one to ask, or there's no accountability, and somewhat lacking support as well because of all the anonymity and such. But I still think it's really fantastic. It's just I don't know how sustainable it is going into the future, especially because it's all donation based. So like, how far of a runway is that going to provide them? I'm really not sure. LBRY, unfortunately, is kind of fallen off now that they've lowered their rewards by like 90%. So I'm earning a tiny fraction of what I used to get from LBRY. So going forward, I'm not going to be taking it as seriously. I still think it's a great platform for what it can offer and the things that you can do with LBRY, but at the end of the day, the reality is that it's not super viable anymore going forward. And I sold the majority of my LBC because now we're not even incentivized to hold LBC, because the only reason that I had LBC was to support my videos and get more visibility so that I could earn. But now, if I'm only going to be getting 90% of that, I also expect that a lot of other people will end up selling their LBC once they realize this. And we're also having a massive airdrop happening in less than a month from now. So LBC is going to take a beating, and super unfortunate, but definitely important to keep in mind. I still think LBRY is a good platform. It's just, if you take away 90% of people's earnings, it's not surprising that they're going to kind of like leave the platform or stop taking it as seriously or deprioritize it. Consistency with your earnings is pretty important, and I found that a lot of the platforms I recommend, Read.Cash, PublishOX, Hive, DTube, etc., a lot of these are very consistent, and it's generally very consistent with what I'm earning. I can always kind of expect something similar, if not a little bit more or a little bit less, but it's always around the same kind of thing. Whereas, with LBRY, clearly it's been so volatile, and now it seems like it's just going to continue to trend down to like 0, and maybe eventually they'll stop giving out any platform rewards. Hopefully we can pull back and make all of this work by getting the ad model up and running, and and hopefully it works really well, and then everything's kind of solved by that, hopefully, and then you can start monetizing again, and hopefully it's a good amount of rewards, etc. Time will only tell. They're still going through their SEC lawsuit, so the chips are stacked up pretty high against LBRY, but we will see, and I will keep reporting on it and letting you guys know. I still think it's a great platform. I'm still sharing it as one of my main post links when I share things, so I still have a lot of confidence in LBRY and a lot of faith, and I still am positive on it and bullish, but there's a lot of obstacles there right now. And if I had to recommend, I would say you're better off with like Hive or DTube, etc. BitChute has been doing pretty well with their new uploader. It's working much smoother, so I definitely recommend, if you had problems there before, to go back and check it out. Torm has been really good. Again, the main caveat with Torm is that you don't really earn platform rewards just from completing missions, so everyone, creator or user, is going to earn the same. It's more so as a social media platform that you can use to promote your other platforms and do stuff with, versus going on there with the intent express of with the express intent of just earning a lot from your actual content. It's more so just your activity there that is going to help you earn, but you still earn enough for it to be worth that little bit of extra time that you spend. Noise.Cash is kind of the status platform of Read.Cash, still moving along really well. Kos is good. Again, the main thing with Kos is just that they do have to approve your videos before they go live, so that could be a big turnoff to a lot of people, but it still produces good amounts of rewards, and it's nothing to scoff at, so I'm still going to include it. BitTube has been really, really good, and it's been increasing at a pretty good rate. I've decided to test out their premium tier subscription kind of thing for 3 months and just see how it works and what the benefits are, because it's been doing really well for me. So I'm always up to try at least one time the kind of like special features of a platform, even if it costs money, though generally I stay away from that, and I don't think people should be spending money to use a social media platform. I get that it's a way for them to try to like fund it, but the idea of paying for social media is a slippery slope, and a lot of the platforms that do that end up being kind of sketchy and not working out very well, like SoMe, for example. And I'm a little concerned that Float is coming out with NFT subscription tiers, essentially. It feels very similar to SoMe and like Minds Plus and stuff like this. It's just not something that I think is a good idea. So I'm very reluctant to be positive about that. And I really think it's going to be very, very bad for the platform, but we'll see how that plays out. It's still in beta technically. All right, so that's generally everything for social media platforms. I did wanted to make a little call out for my advertisements. I've done this before a few times where I've mentioned just two things. I've updated it so I've put a little asterisk beside a company that I thought it was like really notable, like a great sponsor that I've worked with in the past, and I've put a tilde symbol for things that I'm still ongoing doing work with, versus most of these that are kind of like one-off promotions and stuff. Someone pointed out recently that they said the fact that I had like a gambling advertisement in my video was kind of like not on brand with what I do. Because generally I would say you shouldn't be gambling. So I did want to address this and say that just because I have an ad for something doesn't mean like I support it. Like, I'm not saying you should gamble with a gambling ad. It's more like, if you gamble, you could use this. And I also have down here that just because I've done some sort of promotion with them doesn't mean I directly endorse or support them or use them. With certain ones I do, like with Cake Wallet, I do use Cake Wallet for my Monero wallet. That's like one of my big sponsors. They sponsored this video. They sponsor 4 videos a month. There's a bunch of these that are really good that I still use. I still use DTube. I still have a SafePal wallet. I still use BitRefill all the time. I'm still doing stuff with my coin story, and I trade there occasionally. I'm still using Bastion. I just did something with them. So lots and lots of things that I'm still using and I still do fully support and endorse, but a lot of these are just like also one-off kind of just ads. The big difference here is that I show all of this to you guys. I'm completely transparent about the ads. I disclose all of them when I do them, and it's more so about a way for me to get some sort of funding for this, to be able to put more time and dedicate to this, and need to spend less time working for a job to earn an income to be able to do this. And if this is all supported entirely by itself, then I can do much more content for you guys. And that's kind of the idea. And while I do earn, a decent little amount from posting this month, around 850 or something like that, we'll get to that, but it's not enough. So I also do sponsorships and such. And again, it's not that I'm endorsing all of them, and I'm also not getting enough sponsorships that I can only do the best of the best. Someone might say, well, then you just don't have to do them. And it's like, yes, that's true. But would you rather me have videos that don't have ads but posting way less because I can't afford to spend the extra time doing these because I'm not getting the same funding? Or would you rather me have, a little 10-second ad that you can just skip, or just watch through it or whatever? That's really the way that I would look at it. I wouldn't say like, like, why are you promoting a gambling thing but then telling people to invest smart and not gamble and stuff like that? It's like, I'm looking at this kind of amorally, advertising and boosting and such. I'm not like for example, like if I did an ad for a tobacco company, I wouldn't really mind, because you shouldn't be influenced just because you saw an ad. These are ads, not like endorsements. It's ad space. It's not, direct sponsorships or like endorsement by me. I think that's just important to kind of give a little bit of a call out and a little bit of attention to, because I always want to make sure that I'm the most transparent creator, hopefully, that you follow, because my budget is out there, my monthly earnings are out there, everyone I've ever worked with, all the promotions I've ever done, it's fully disclosed. I put this up every month. Everything that you can possibly imagine, all my metrics, all of my data, everything through and through is 100% transparent and shared with all of you. There's nothing that I know or something that you guys don't know. As much, you have the same access to the data as I do. And I don't think anyone else really does that in crypto or as an influencer or anything. There's almost no people that are being 100% transparent with everything that they're doing and earning, and all these kinds of things. And that's what I'm striving to do. So even if you don't fully agree with an ad that I might do, I'm still being transparent enough to show you everything and put it all out front. And, and then you can also hold me accountable because it's all out there in the open. So I'm not saying that every single one of these projects is an amazing project, or that, maybe after I did work with them, they might do something sketchy. It's not that I endorse them or that, I knew or something like that either. So I wouldn't attach my name to these going forward beyond the ad that I do, essentially. And you might say that's kind of like a lame way to distance myself from them, but that's the reality. It's ad space. It's not like a direct endorsement. So I just wanted to be clear about that for my viewers, because I just want to be upfront and honest and transparent with you guys. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into my earnings for December. My total earnings were $856.22 Canadian, which is $693.54 US. This is pretty much almost the same as I'd made. I think it was either, I can't remember if it was last month or the month before, or November or October, but either way, recently I made a very similar amount to this, so it's not far off from the previous months. And it really does seem that if crypto starts going down, then so do my earnings. So naturally, I expect my January earnings to be much lower as well, sadly, because we've had this massive dip. I'm dreading making my update for my investing, given that right now I'm down like 45 for probably around 50,000 from the last update. So, I'm kind of dreading making that, but I will have to eventually make it within the next 8 days or so. So I will be doing that, and I will give you the updates there as well. But for now, we're just focused on social media earnings. So PublishOX does what it usually does, between $20 and $30. Brave Browser is a little higher with $10, and that's nice to see. LBRY was only in the thousands because when I complained, Thomas, who works there, was nice enough to give me 1,000 LBC as a donation for my kind of, to make the 90% loss not as bad. But even then, that's still only $73. There was a time when I was earning like thousands of dollars of LBC in a month, and we'll never get anywhere back close to that. So realistically, I would have only earned 593 LBC, which would have been a fraction of this. And yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate, but LBRY is just not really very viable for monetizing and earning now. I mean, realistically, you'll still earn more than you will on a lot of other sites, but it's trending down where a lot of other platforms are trending up. So you do have to consider that. Is it going to continue going down? It really all depends when the ad model comes out and how that is executed. Hive continues to be the leading sort of platform for monetization, getting me a lot more than I got last month, which is fantastic, $318. And when we do my investing report, you'll probably see that my income from Hive as well, just passive income, is also going up, which is great to see. LeoFinance continues to give me some small rewards on the side, which it does seem to be going down, unfortunately, but an extra $12 for no extra effort is better than nothing for sure. Coast.tv, a little more this month, which is nice to see, almost $40. So, Coast is doing pretty well. I find that Coast has been, even though I don't like the approvals and and that they're using Theta and all this kind of sketchy stuff, at the end of the day, if they're going to still produce, good amounts of crypto, there's no reason why you shouldn't just take that extra little bit of time to upload there. Read.Cash and Noise.Cash are fantastic. Now that they have a way for you to easily export all of your transactions, I can much more effectively track it again, because they used to have a way, but then it became really, it just wasn't functioning properly because I had too many transactions. So it wasn't able to properly get me that data, but now I'm getting that again. Also, I don't think PeakD has this, but Hive.blog, the kind of original Hive website, now offers financial reports like in a spreadsheet of all of your transactions. So I used to have to count everything manually, and now I can easily do it all in a spreadsheet. So I highly recommend using that and just taking advantage of that and making your life a lot easier if you do any kind of tracking or you just want it for tax purposes or whatever it happens to be. So not on PeakD or most interfaces, but Hive.blog has that on your wallet. Den.social. I don't know if I'm going to keep reporting on Den, but I guess at this point I can wait because ETH 2.0 is right around the corner. And if they solve gas fees, then Den might actually be viable. But if not, then I'm probably going to stop reporting on it because the gas fees are so bad. It's just, there's no reason to use the platform. And while Yup is kind of the same situation, I find it's just so much easier to earn Yup, and I earn so much more, and it's worth more. And it's just an overlay. It's really easy to use. So Yup, I don't find as big of a nuisance. So I'm going to continue to do Yup, but probably going to be much more lax on Den.social. DTube continues to be really good and, producing pretty solid rewards. I would say out of all of the video platforms, it would be Hive and then DTube right after. One of the really great things about DTube is you can cross post to Hive, DTube, Blurt, and Steam all from DTube, which is amazing. The only reason I don't post to Hive from there is because I want to take advantage of 3Speak, and then I use DTube with the other platforms. So it's actually, as far as I know, the only cross-posting blockchain platform that hooks up to 4 platforms in total, including itself. So that's actually a really, really easy way for you to share to multiple platforms and get your videos out there. So I think that's really fantastic. And the rewards there are really good. The only issue with the platform is sometimes there's performance issues or issues with uploads. And, that's definitely going to be a concern for some people, but, it is what it is. Bastion continues to give pretty small rewards. But again, if you saw my recent video, I'm pretty positive on it. It's pretty decentralized. It's pretty good for what it is. And I'm sure going forward, there will be more ways to earn, and they're coming out with a lot of interesting stuff. So I'm very bullish on it, even though I'm earning a very, very small amount right now. I am very bullish on it. And it's kind of the same thing with BitTube, sorry. I only earn $1.14 there, which is more, and it is very small, but I'm very positive where BitTube is headed. And like I said, I've even started testing out their premium subscription, even though I'm generally really against that. I am going to be testing everything through and through so that you guys don't have to. And that's kind of always the idea. Torum produced $8 worth of XTM, which again, it's not very much, but it's better than nothing for the simple act of just logging in and using the platform and performing a few actions. Blurt has been really good. Since the price has gone up, it's producing much more substantial rewards. However, I'm a little skeptical with the platform and, having to pay fees to do everything all the time and stuff like that. So I've been taking all my Blurt and withdrawing it to Hive, and then just stacking my Hive and my HBD and my savings and just building that up passively, because, Blurt is it's good, but it wouldn't be my first pick. If I could use Blurt or Hive, I'm going to use Hive. So instead, I'm just going to convert all my Blurt over to Hive and kind of just double down there. And that's what I'm doing with a lot of that. I'm taking a lot of my earnings and just putting it into Hive and into the small things that I think are the best versus just letting everything grow. I'm kind of funneling it all into the best possible spots that I think are the best. And then lastly, YouTube. I earned a little bit more, which is nice. I was starting to go back into like a normal mode of YouTube where I was gaining subscribers and things were going back up again. And then randomly it just went back into that like shadow ban mode where it just drops off randomly really aggressively. And then I start losing followers and my views and everything start going down randomly just out of nowhere. It is what it is. YouTube is going to keep doing what it's going to do. I'm not really expecting anything of YouTube. It's just, it is what it is. This is just a breakdown of what it all looks like in a pie chart to give you a better idea of, like the percentage of where everything's coming from. again, do keep in mind, like, even though Yup looks pretty high, it's not that good. So like, I wouldn't be, like tricked or confused by it, so to speak, because Yup just, it's so hard to get that money out, and you have to pay the fees for switching from EOS to ETH and your ETH gas fees. So yeah, you just always have to kind of consider that. A lot of these are going to be much, much easier to earn with and to actually get your value once ETH 2.0 solves a lot of these gas fee issues. But until then, your best bet is to just focus on the ones that don't have these issues. And if I had to suggest, a very small amount of platforms, if you were going to force me to pick like a few, I would say probably Read.Cash, Hive, and DTube. If you had a little bit more leeway, I would throw in Blurt and LBRY as well. And that's probably it out of this list, because a lot of these are really, really small in terms of like earnings and like what you can get. So if you had to pick like just a small amount, that would be my top recommendations. But very soon I will be getting into my recommendations for going forward after a full year's worth of testing social media platforms. I will be doing my 6th comprehensive review that will look at everything. The only reason I've sort of delayed that is because I'm getting out a bunch of guides for these platforms first. And then in the review, I will refer back to the guides and link them so it can act as a kind of like an index and like a reference and resource for all that kind of stuff, and be able to navigate to everything as well. So that's what that's going to be. I'm delaying it a little bit because of that, but it's going to be very beneficial for you guys. And then this is just an overview of how things have played out. Okay, so actually, the months before this were actually really positive. September is what this is most similar to. So yeah, it kind of just follows like the rises and falls of the market in terms of earnings as well. So it's interesting how that all kind of like correlates, but you can see, there's been better months and worse months, but at the end of the day, it's still earning me enough money that it's worth doing. It's nothing to scoff at. This paired with sponsorships is basically like enough to make a living as like a full-time career. But I'm doing this stuff plus my full-time job. So I really appreciate all of the, all the help and, patronizing, watching my videos and going through the sponsors and, not unfollowing me on Twitter when I'm posting Twitter promotions and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate all that from you guys and the support that you guys give, and do realize that these sponsorships aren't just like me throwing out sponsorships for money. It's so that I can get to a place where I can just make these videos all the time and I can get you guys way more content. And because my content isn't just like shilly or promotional, and I'm not just getting paid for, saying you should do something, it's stuff that I'm actually providing you useful education, reviews, guides, tutorials, all this kind of stuff to just give you the best possible information and tools to earn the most money, to avoid censorship, to do all these things that are so important to people within the blockchain ecosystem and space, and aligned with their ethics and morals. Thank you so much for your patronage and your support. And 2021 was a good year, as you can see. Or as you could see, and we're not sharing anymore, but it was a good year. And I really appreciate all of your support. And I think 2022 will be even better. We just kind of have to overcome this little crash/dip. I'm still very positive for the future. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the dip, and like it was a rough little while there. It still technically is, but I'm very confident that ETH 2.0 will kind of bring us out of this whole mess, and Bitcoin and everything else will kind of follow alongside that. So I'm very bullish in the near future. I still have all the hopes that we're going to see our run up that was kind of delayed with all this nonsense happening lately. And yeah, I'm still really positive in going forward into the future. So let me know, what are you guys doing? Where are you earning? I'm always looking for recommendations on new platforms to check out so that I can review them and then get back to you guys on what I think. And I just want to be on every platform. I recently posted a huge list of all the platforms I'm sort of dropping off of for my testing and such. actually, let's quickly take a look at that before we end off. So there's quite a list here. So Den.social, as I've said, I'm not really taking it very seriously until we can solve these issues with gas fees, because I don't really get much interaction there. They never fixed the follower issue, so you never know how many followers you really have. So it's hard to know if there's really any much activity going on, and it's just not really there yet. If they fix things, I will recommend it. SoMe is a complete flop. We've talked about this a lot. It was a complete flop. Now it's just a Hive interface, and anyone who had SoMe tokens basically lost like 99% of the value. Memo.Cash has kind of fallen off. It's not really that big anymore, and they haven't really progressed. It seems like it's kind of dead. But when I posted this, everyone was like, wait, why aren't you on Memo.Cash? Like, come back and reconsider. So, you know what? I will reconsider Memo.Cash, but I'm still very hesitant. I don't, like, it's not getting updated and stuff, so it's not like it's really gonna go anywhere. But, you know, I'll use it if everyone's still using it and they really want me to continue using it. But the reality is that people who want a status platform that is using Bitcoin Cash are just going to use Noise.Cash and then Read.Cash for blogging. That's the reality. Ignite, it's just not very good. Same with Creation Social. Sub-Social, just, it doesn't really work very well for me, and I don't like having to use a Polkadot extension and all this extra stuff. It was just a lot of work for like something that wasn't really that big of a deal. Bellacam seemed kind of like sketchy to me. Also not really much going on there. Chirp and Twetch are both pay to use. BitClout is like a borderline scam in my opinion. I mean, plus if you bought their token, it went from $180 down to $60, and it's just continuing to go down, down, down. It's just, if you look at the chart, it's just going down and trending to zero basically. So I was kind of right, but I mean, they did come out with withdrawals at the very least, but we already know that they inflated the values and did a lot of sketchy stuff and had a pre-mine and lied about it. And it's just a lot of nonsense. Hypersocial has too many restrictions. Same with Gaze TV. Like, they have KYC and all this other stuff. So it's just not worth your time. BitLink fell off and they've been in maintenance for months. So I think that's just done. I linked the wrong Sign TV here. I linked signtv.io, but it's signtv.in. That is the bad platform. This is actually a Hive interface, so this is fine. They were pretty upset that I linked the wrong one, but I mean, I made the correction. Voice is just like an NFT platform now. It's pointless. Coil moved, and it's like a pay-to-use platform. Saray, or however it's pronounced, is not a very good platform. TokenTuber fell off. Streamanity is pay to use. Vibravid has a lot of media restrictions. Like, I can't upload a video longer than 15 minutes. Kind of pointless then. Sapien isn't really that good. It's mostly ads, spam, not many users. The Capital has like no one using the platform. Cent is a little too underdeveloped, and you have to use like Ethereum to seed, and it's just not very ideal. Lastly, these are a few that I'm doing a little bit more testing on before I, you know, completely write them off. But Carbon, because it's just games now, it's not really real social media, but there might be enough people there for it to still be worth my time. Floix or Floaks or whatever, it's kind of like a worse version of Float, but you know, I'm still gonna test it a little bit more because there's still users on there. And same with Trodel. I think the easiest way to tell if a platform really has much of a user base, if you can't actually see any data on it, is to just go and look at the main official account. And it's like, if they have like 100 followers, then there's like literally no one on the platform. At the very least, they need to have like 1,000 or a couple thousand, because otherwise you can only imagine that there's probably almost no one on the platform, especially if everyone's got like, you know, 5 followers or whatever. MeWe is kind of like a bad alternative to Facebook, and MeWe's terms of service are not really in support of free speech anyways, so it's not a very good alternative if you're trying to solve those issues. And then Tipistry is kind of just like it's kind of a weak platform, I would say. So I will test these out a little bit more before I finally write them off, but this is a pretty big handful of platforms that I'm signing off of, and they're kind of like off my list. Den Social is the only one that I'm kind of like, I still might use. It really just depends on how ETH plays out. And I've reconsidered Memo.Cash, so I'll still be on there, but I don't think it's really going to improve anymore. But that's everything. I'll still let you guys know what I am using, what I am testing, as I have been, and I'll continue to let you know if I do drop off of anything. But that was a big list of things that I've dropped off. But at the end of the day, I can't just infinitely use a platform if it's not a good platform. Eventually, you have to cut your losses. Let me know, what platforms are you using, though? Where are you earning cryptocurrency? What is your take on free speech and decentralization and censorship and all this good stuff? Let me know all that stuff in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. Do comment hashtag #1ham in the comments below, and that way I know you watched the whole video. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.